Today you will be learning how to make some good old-fashioned homemade chocolate chip cookies. But before we start, I'd like to give you a few safety tips. Tip number 1, wear oven mitts when putting cookies into the preheated oven and when removing cookies from the oven. You don't want to burn yourself. Tip number 2, for those with peanut allergies or sensitivity, use chocolate chips from a peanut-free facility such as Nestle Toll House Simply Delicious Semi-Sweet Morsels or Enjoy Life Mini Chips. Tip number 3, please be aware cookie dough contains raw eggs, which may be contaminated with salmonella bacteria. Although cookie batter looks tempting to eat, you may want to hold off on tasting until the cookies are fully baked and cooled. These bacteria may be able to cause you fever, diarrhea, and vomiting when consumed. Tip number 4, cookies will be hot to touch when removed from the oven, so be sure to be careful. Next, let's go over the materials that you're going to need. Please be sure to pause the video so you can take a picture or write it down. What you will need is the following: measuring spoons, both teaspoon and tablespoon, a measuring cup, a large serving spoon, a large bowl, a small bowl, a cooling rack, an electric stand or hand mixer, which is optional, a cookie sheet, parchment paper, an airtight container, a spatula, a whisk, a trivet, oven mitts, a refrigerator, optional for cooling, an oven, and a timer. Next, let's go over the ingredients that you're going to need. What you will need is 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of butter softened up, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 3/4 cup packed brown sugar, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 cups semi-sweet chocolate chips or chocolate of your choice. Okay, now that you know how to stay safe and what you need, it's time to start making some delicious chocolate chip cookies. The first thing you're going to need to do is wash your hands and preheat the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. That should take care of the prep. Time to get to the action. Next, get a small bowl and using a whisk, mix together your flour, baking soda, and salt. Put a little love into it, and then when you're done, set this bowl aside. Now that you've gotten that done, in a large bowl, beat softened butter and both types of sugars with your electric mixer on medium speed. If you do not have an electric mixer, use a large serving spoon to mix the wet ingredients for about 1 minute until fluffy. Be sure to use a spatula to scrape the sides of the bowl occasionally. After the butter and sugar mixture have formed a smooth consistency, add egg and vanilla to the bowl and mix until it's silky smooth. Now, you're going to get the first bowl of dry ingredients that we set aside and slowly add to the butter mixture if you're using an electric mixer. If you're mixing by hand, slowly add the flour mixture to the butter and use the spatula to fold the wet and dry ingredients together. Folding is as simple as gently scooping under the contents within the bowl and turning the mixture over itself until it is well combined. With this in mind, use the rubber spatula and incorporate the folding method to add chocolate chips of your choice into the dough. Now that we're all done mixing, wash our hands again and dry them with a clean paper towel. We've been touching a lot of different surfaces, ingredients, and materials, and we don't want to contaminate our cookies with germs, right? I didn't think so. Once our hands are clean, take a big enough piece of parchment paper and line the baking sheet with parchment to fit the entirety of the sheet. Then, take a tablespoon measurement of dough from the completed bowl of the dough. With clean hands, form the tablespoon of dough into a rounded ball and place onto the parchment paper. Unless you're baking for a giant, we don't want one large cookie. So make sure that you give each cookie about an inch of space in between each ball of cookie dough. Alright, we're in the home stretch. It's time now to break out your oven mitts and place them on your hands carefully. Place the cookies in the oven now and bake them for 8 to 10 minutes or until light brown, whatever you're choosing. Once the cookies are done, get those oven mitts back on again and remove them from the oven and set them atop of a trivet or heat-resistant surface. Allow the cookies to cool for at least 2 minutes. Using a slotted turner spatula, transfer the semi-cooled cookies to the cooling rack where they could get a little beauty rest. Let the cookies cool completely for 30 minutes and then... Cookie! Was your attempt at making chocolate chip cookies unsuccessful? Then try following these troubleshooting tips. If your cookies look like they spread into flat puddles, consider the following. The dough may have been too moist. Make sure you are correctly measuring your dry ingredients or try adding an additional teaspoon or 2 of flour. Also, remember, you only need to beat for 1 minute. Overbeating can cause the butter to become too warm and weaken its ability to hold air, causing it to not be able to hold its shape. Not only that, but adding too much of a leavening substance such as baking soda can cause the cookies to deflate. Along with that, too much grease on the pan can cause the cookies to spread in the oven, way more than your liking. Finally, if time allows, place the cookie dough in the fridge for at least an hour to set the butter. When the butter is too soft, it allows for the cookies to spread easier, causing flat cookies or for the cookies to spread into one. If your cookies didn't spread at all, consider the following. Avoid changing the amount of butter or oil in the cookie recipe. Make sure the oven is preheated to the correct temperature, and most importantly, make sure you bake the cookies at the right temperature. Baking cookies at the incorrect temperature can prevent the cookies from spreading. If your cookies are too crumbly, consider the following. You may need to mix for a longer time to make a more cohesive dough and/or add an additional egg or egg yolk. Once you have a finished product to your liking, consider this maintenance advice to assist in making the most out of your chocolate chip cookie baking experience. Storing cookies in an airtight container will keep them fresher for a longer period of time. Cookies can be stored in an airtight container for up to 5 days and last up to 9 months if the container is placed in the freezer. Have leftover dough? Follow the same rules when cooked. Place the dough into an airtight container. Storing the dough in the fridge should keep your dough fresh for up to 5 days and can last in the freezer for up to 6 months. Be sure to clean your cookie sheet thoroughly. Be sure to clean your mixer thoroughly. And that's about it. No matter how many attempts it took, by this point, you will have a successful batch of chocolate chip cookies. If you didn't, you should probably go back and rewatch this video again. But if you do, now it's time to kick back, relax, and enjoy.